So, are you prone to fatigue, brain fog, and here's a big one, irritability, anxiety, feeling a little bit depressed or blue, or just feeling blah, which is the way that most of my friends explain how they feel as the decades pass? Well, stick around because in today's episode of The Best of Raleigh, we're diving into the world of health and wellness with Dr. Greg Brannon and medical director and founder of the Optimal Bio. With over 30 years of experience as an OBGYN, Dr. Brannon's journey led him to discover the life-changing benefits of bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, or BHRT, as you may have heard. In 2012, he founded Optimal Bio in Cary, and now the company has expanded to multiple locations across the South, helping patients with the overall well-being and optimizing their hormones, nutrition, fitness, gut health, and so much more. Now, this is not just for those of us approaching midlife. So if you're a younger adult, stick around because you need to hear this conversation. We cannot wait to geek out on all the science that will help you take control of your health and feel your absolute best. So let's get right to it. Dr. Brannon, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
My complete honor. Thank you.
Welcome to the Best of Raleigh with your host and real estate expert, Gretchen Coley, owner of the Coley Group. This show is all about the people and places that make the Raleigh area so special. Here's your host, Gretchen Coley.
I am so excited about this conversation. You know, I've read so much about you, and I'm so happy that you brought your books. You know, after 30 years of doing anything, most people are thinking about retiring, not starting something new. You must really love what you do.
It's a passion. I'm a freak on liberty. I love individuals being empowered. Mm-hmm. And I had these lovely young women in their, say, early 40s start to complain about perimenopausal complaints. And the standard of care is antidepressants. And it never made no sense to me when you start losing hormones to replace it with another supplement.
It makes me so angry.
85% of people on again, there's a spot for them, there's a place for them. But the idea that because you're feeling irritable and moody, it's like this. If you are a diabetic, an insulin diabetic, and you have no insulin, and your sugar's going higher, and instead of me giving you insulin, I give you anything else, I'll give you Zoloft or Prozac or something like that. It makes no sense to me. We should attack the root cause. Mm-hmm. And I just started looking for answers for my wife, myself, as we aged. And it was just this how it fell in my hand is a bit amazing. But I love what we have to do because I hear we change lives every day.
Yeah. Well, what was it that you learned in that 30 years outside of your wife? What were some of the pieces that you saw in the women that you treated that really drove you to start Optimal Bio?
It was as I'm aging myself, his story was this. In 2010, 2011, I was pre-diabetic or diabetic. And at that time, I'm doing triathlons and CrossFit. So I'm doing what you're supposed to do. But I was eating the way we were told to eat, the standard American diet, SAD, S-A-D. Yeah. A lot of carbohydrates, multiple meals a day, keep the furnace burning. And I know the exact date. It was April 30th, 2011. I read a book by Mark Sisson called Primal Blueprint, and it changed my life. And by the way, I did a lot of diabetes to my pregnancy patients. Here, it's ironic, I'm getting pre-diabetic, and I'm a diabetic doctor. Mm-hmm. So I reversed everything on what I was doing in my patient myself, and I saw that happen. Same time during that life, I was exposed to testosterone pellets. When I first heard about it, I thought, what is this stuff? I never heard about it. I was arrogant. The arrogance led to my ignorance. Pellets have been out since 1935. This is not new stuff. There's been over 28,000 articles written on this. So I started looking at the data. So I remember when I was in school, what was the range of a healthy person, men and women as we age? Mm-hmm. And the range is decreased by 3 to 5-fold. Wow. So the question we ask yourself is, why are we losing hormones? Because the most abundant active hormone in the human body is testosterone.
In both males and females.
Women have 50 times more testosterone than estrogen. It's
really?
A human hormone. Every cell in our body needs testosterone to function properly, period. And what's happening is testosterone becomes estrogen in both men and women. Estrogen is what controls the production of testosterone. As that gets higher, it's called a negative feedback loop. It turns off the production of testosterone. So this beautiful closed system we have is being attacked by outside fake estrogens. These fake estrogens, pesticides, herbicides, plastics, that tricks the body. We're high estrogen. Our body goes, oh, since testosterone comes from estrogen, we have stopped making testosterone. So it's a sick population we have. That's the problem.
So I had that exact thing happen to me where I don't eat a lot of estrogen. I don't have that in my diet, but all of a sudden those numbers got really high. And it was at the time that I felt probably the worst in my life. Like there was a period of time, I'm 49 years old now, just to put this into perspective, but just because I'm 49 doesn't mean if you're 30 and listening to this, you need to hear this, because these are the things that people aren't telling you. They're not preparing you for it, because it's not about biology anymore. It's about telling women especially that you just shouldn't feel that way. Maybe you should go to therapy. Look, I was so angry at life. I felt horrible. I couldn't stand I was so irritable. There was not the joy of life that I had always had. And it was, I think, solely because of that spike in estrogen from outside forces.
Well, what happens by 40, women lost half their testosterone. Let me put it in perspective, what I'm talking about. 50, 60 years ago, an average man, a bell curve, 80% fell in this number, 900 to 1400. That was the range of a man. A woman was roughly 90 to 250, 300. That was the range. Today, depends what lab you use, but it's roughly 200 to 800 for a man, and a woman from 3 to 50. So think about all these systems that need this much fuel has this much fuel. You're going to have, the example I use is your Ferrari.
Yeah.
And you're driving down the car in the road and you have these red lights come on your dashboard. You have two options. Put masking tape over it and keep driving, or find out where it goes. Root cause medicine is the future of medicine, period. Let's not wait for things to happen. Let's go to the root cause, fine tune these beautiful machines we've been given so that we could actually live life, not exist.
I love that root cause. So getting to the root cause of what's happening in our world, and I want to come back and talk about hormone replacement therapies, bioidentical hormone replacement therapies again. But getting to the root cause of it, there's a functional medicine movement in this country. How excited are you about the new incoming administration and RFK Jr.'s role in what's happening with our food system?
I think I'm excited beyond words, because I think we got to have a plethora of ideas. They cannot be top down. We're individualized. I'm a big believer that the king and queen is in the mirror. We just need information to make decisions. The cornerstone of ethical medicine is informed consent. And if we don't focus on informed consent, how can you make a choice?
Right.
So this whole idea of asking questions is what science is built upon. And that's why I'm excited beyond words, because I also believe that the central government, in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, there's no role for health care. That should be individualized within each state. Anything decentralized makes an opportunity to be better. I'm a huge believer that society is at its best when the individual is free to fail and succeed. That's what my passion's about.
I agree. And in talking about that, I think the thing that I'm so attracted to with RFK Jr. is his stance on the chemicals that are in our food that are, you travel to Europe. I can go to Barcelona and I can eat a baguette this big with 3 slices of ham on it and 3 slices of cheese for breakfast every morning, and I'm not swollen. I'm not bloated. My body is processing it. And it was then that I started to realize our food system in America is really broken, and there's so many chemicals coming in. So just getting to eating in a way that is more like what you've said, eating like your ancestors.
Yep.
Dude, explain that to me a little.
Well, the thing about it is glyphosate is a bad molecule. And the idea behind it was great, but the problem is it gets in our body, gets in our system. That causes problems. I was in Europe as well, and talking about that, there's 3 types of wheat. I always get mixed up. There's red, white, and durum. The one in Europe is more of an ancient grain without glyphosate in it, has less side effects. This causes, when you have these pesticides, it actually causes what's called dysbiosis of the gut. Everything is gut. Everything's gut.
Gut is your second brain.
Yeah, gut and hormones, they tie together. All the neurotransmitters in the brain are made in the gut by bacteria. It's not made here.
No.
So the bottom line is, if you can't pronounce it, let's not have it. Why are certain Doritos are illegal in Europe or Japan? We have to ask these questions. I think Robert Kennedy's going down that pathway to ask these questions. I think during the COVID aspects of it, what we learned a lot is we have to ask questions. There's not one expert, quote unquote.
I agree.
The expert is There's multiple of them, but bottom, the responsibility demands on you. We have to do our work and find out those answers. I'm never anybody's first doctor. I'm their 10th, 7th, 8th. And they come to me with symptoms of like, I'm tired, I'm brain fogged, these vague symptoms. But those are they're not nebulous in their head. They're real. Their bodies are feeling this because nobody knows your body more than you. So you start looking at the fuel source, you go, oh, then what you do is you get them in optimal ranges. We have a 97% retention rate by just getting hormones. It's like you're surprised that the blood sugar is great when you have good insulin. No, that's where the body works.
So it is so tied together, the health, the nutrition, the fitness, and the gut health, and then the bioidentical hormone replacements. Those are the two things that are the key components to health as you begin to age.
Right, and I want to understand this bioidentical thing. This is important.
I want to talk about that because the question I had for you was, why would someone choose a bioidentical versus just a hormone replacement
Here's
therapy?
what's really, really important to understand. And again, pharma's doing great. The research they do is fantastic, but they can't be a monopoly on this. But a pharmacy company cannot own an organic molecule. It cannot own one. So what they got to do is they have to make one, and they got to tell us that their molecule is superior to one your body makes. No, when your body recognizes, this is the Mayo Clinic, they say bioidentical means your body recognizes the same. We're talking atom for atom, molecule for molecule, three-dimensional structure, all that matters. So your body sees the hormone that it makes, just lower levels, at the optimal ranges. It knows how to utilize it, metabolize it, and eliminate it. Therefore, the side effects are not there. A synthetic molecule does not look like your body knows it, so there are side effects to molecules that your body cannot recognize. And that is where they throw both these in the same category. They're not. There are side effects with synthetics. Example. There are synthetic progestins, not progesterone. Progestins. That's in birth control pills, in IUDs, in postmenopausal hormones called Provera, methoxyprogesterone. Well, we know by data that increases breast cancer up to 69%. Natural progesterone decreases by 10%. So it really matters on the structure. The structure leads to function. Function leads to how we work.
So let's talk about bioidentical hormone replacement with men and with women, because when I think about it, I think about it for women because, at my age, I'm obviously in this perimenopausal phase. I don't even know where I am anymore. Like some days I think I'm done and some days I'm like,
that's perimenopausal.
Am I going to have another baby or something? I don't know. But I think about it all the time as like, that's just part of the process. I am shocked at the amount of my friends who have never been introduced to it. And they're going to their OBGYNs and they're telling them, this is what I'm feeling. I'm like, well, did they do any blood work? Like what? So it's not that they're bad doctors. It's just that they're not looking at the root cause.
Well,
and when it comes to men, I guess men hear about testosterone and they think that's only for men. And you just said, women need it as much as men do. But why should we all be looking at bioidentical hormones?
Testosterone is the most abundant hormone in the body. We're 3 generations away from being at a different number. That makes a difference.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to understand that we're all sick by these xenoestrogens. They're called neuroendocrine disruptors. So this is what's important, is to make sure our body has optimal hormone to do its optimal function. Half my patients are men. Half. My average age patient is 37. This is not I thought it'd be like old geezers like me, but it's not. These symptoms are, and the sad part is the younger generation actually are lower because these chemicals go through the placenta while they're being developed. So they're having a lower number where they start out with. So they don't even know what being higher is. We don't lose hormone in men with age. Because of age, we're losing the more time exposed to chemicals. Women have a reproductive age, but there's benefits for reproduction. But even if you're not ovulating, you still make estrogen, testosterone, progesterone for your brain, your heart, your bones, your breasts. All those are crucially important for that. So again, I go back to insulin. You would never say you're too old or too young for insulin, ever.
No.
And this hormone is more abundant than that. In fact, they've been studied out of Germany, 11,000 men they looked at over an 11-year period. by giving testosterone to men, they decrease diabetes by 34%.
Wow.
That have diabetes.
Wow.
If you're optimized beforehand, pre-diabetics, they could decrease a diabetic by 250%. All cardiovascular events are decreased. Dementia's decreased. I can do it all day long because your body knows how to run these functions when their numbers are optimized.
Well, let's talk about the stigma behind testosterone.
I was waiting for that one.
Because, I was a fitness competitor for 5 years. I'm a licensed nutritionist. I feel like, I was taught you can do everything with food.
Mm-hmm.
You can't because our food system is broken.
Uh-huh.
But people who, when you say to someone, I'm taking testosterone as a woman, it's weird. And when someone says, a male is taking testosterone, people are like, well, oh, is he going to have all these big muscles? And are the women going to grow muscles? Like, let's kind of dispel some of the myths that you hear every day.
Beautiful. Here, okay, first off is this cancer myth.
Yeah.
From 1935, the first time pellets were used, to 2002, the famous WHI paper. 77 years, there was no major literature that said hormones cause cancer. Then that one paper came out. That paper, the WHI paper, the problem was they did not use estrogen. They used Premarin, which is pregnant female horse urine. It's not a human, okay? And they did not use progesterone. They used the progestin, medroxyprogesterone. It came out, they had a 24% increase in breast cancer. And it was skewed also to an older population base. There's a phenomenal book called Estrogen Matters that destroys that paper. Hopkins went back to look at that paper 15 years afterwards, and they found women who got breast cancer on hormones live longer because less dementia and cardiovascular disease. In my book, my first book here, Hormone Handbook, there's a section on Dr. Fournier in France. He looked at 134,000 women, menopausal women, gave them estrogen bioidentical, progesterone bioidentical, estrogen bioidentical, and the synthetic. The bioidentical arm decreased breast cancer 10%. The synthetic arm increases 69%. Dr. Rebecca Glazer out of Ohio, a brilliant breast surgeon, she did a 10-year study looking at data. If you add testosterone pellets, you decrease breast cancer 40 to 60%.
Wow.
And testosterone is anti-proliferative on tissue that are actually grown by estrogens, the breast, the prostate in men. So it's a stigma. It makes no sense for me. But it says, I quoted the same things before because you get these papers, but that's why it's important to look at a bunch of more literature. In my new book, Restore, I got 497 references. I have 82 just on breast cancer alone. It's just really important that we understand the data out there. It's been out there, again, next year will be 90 years for testosterone pellets.
Well, and this book is on one of the Amazon bestsellers lists, correct?
Yep.
So you have to go check this out, Restore. There's so much great information in here. And there is a smaller version of this book as a free download.
It's actually the same version.
It's the same version of this book. Wow, you're giving this away free on your website? You don't even ask for an email.
I want information.
Okay. This is awesome. So we're going to put the link down below in the description. You got to go check this out. I downloaded it last night. I can't wait to read it. But when it comes to muscle growth and like vocals and and the irritability or the anger and the all the buffness and the beating of the chest that testosterone is labeled with,
let's go over that.
That's a myth,
right? Because again, when you have human hormones, bioidentical, in physiological levels, not super physiological levels, the body becomes what it is. The problem is there are three classes of synthetic hormones. Number one's called the ester, which is the most common used, the injections. One's called 19-nortestosterone, another injection, and one's called 17-alkylation, which is oral. Picture huge muscle guys. That is 1,000 times stronger androgenic or anabolic growth. But those are non-human.
Yeah, I would agree.
And the problem is they convert into estrogen, leave your body. The roid rage and the moodiness is the variability of their estrogen metabolites, not the testosterone. In the bioidentical side, it's, again, I can't stress, they're human hormones, they're representative of what their body makes, and they are completely in physiological levels. Now, this is important. Not today's levels. 3 or 4 generations ago are still physiologically normal. Okay, that's very important. Remember, we're lower today because of the environment.
That was going to be my question because I have tried to stay in this range, and I'm just going to be completely transparent. When I started a process, my testosterone was at 5. And so the goal range was 75, which sounds like is low for what you're saying. So what are your, and I know it's generalized and you can't really say for each individual person this is exactly what but what are the ranges for women and men?
Okay. Historically, they say from the 1960s, and a man under 300 is considered extremely low. That 300 in a woman equals 25.
25 years old?
No, 25. They're,
I was getting ready to say we're going there.
no, they're nanograms per deciliter.
Okay.
So a woman 25 equals a man's 300.
Okay.
A man's 500 is considered low historically, equals a woman about 37. So when you look at those ranges, so optimized, my range is 900 to 14 for a man.
Wow.
Roughly 90 to 250 for a woman. The thing about the upper limits is it's very subjective how you feel. The side effects could be hair and acne. So you want to feel great, but not have hair and acne.
We got somebody for that.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing about that whole idea is there've been multiple studies showing where people feel good at. It's called the Zig-Berlin test. They have a woman's test and a man's test. It was very interesting. When they did the women, they used pellets. They had virtually 100% people, they felt better subjectively. They did men, only 22% felt better. They were using the injections.
Oh.
They converted the pellets. They had virtually 100% because the pellets do this every 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, the shots do this every 3 days. The pellet does this
And it stays.
over 6 months.
So let's talk about that. So when it comes to an injectionable testosterone, are those not bioidentical?
They're not bioidentical.
So if you're injecting a testosterone that is not bioidentical, okay, everybody out there pay attention to this. Now, if you're doing a pellet, the question that I have, because I have tried pellets before, is, what if the dose is not? Like, how do you figure out how to get the dose
I built an
right,
algorithm. I've done 150, 200,000 of these. I have an algorithm I built. But the problem, the people that do the injection, the cyprinate, will say it's bioidentical because it is a testosterone molecule, but it's bound to what's called an ester. So the ester does equal in your body. So when that cleaves off, that is bioidentical, but that's why the peaks and valleys do this. The pellet is pure testosterone. The other two categories are a different structure altogether. And that's why it's important when you take them orally. The old oral ones increase the liver tumors, liver cancer. There's an oral one on the market now you could take, but only 2% absorption rate. And that's
What's
why
the point of that?
I'm trying to mimic testicles and ovaries. And again, something's been used for 90 years. And the bioidentical pellet has never recalled in any country ever. Ever.
So when you're doing a bioidentical hormone or testosterone pellet, you have to take an estrogen blocker or
not
a
a blocker.
DIM or anything?
That's not a blocker, it's a metabolizer.
A metabolizer.
So testosterone becomes estrogen. There's a hormone called aromatase. Some people block that. I do it extremely rarely because I want estrogen. Okay, then there's three pathways to leave your body: 2, 16, and 4. Those, I'll call those bad. 2 is good. By giving DIM, which is basically out of broccoli and cauliflower, it will push it that direction.
To bring the good.
So I want to make estrogen, but not too much and not too low. See, estrogen causes vasodilatation, which is great for the heart and the brain. There's been studies on Alzheimer's and dementia. Too high is the problem because this gets a little nerdy, but there's 2 receptors, an alpha and a beta. To make it simple, the alpha is, I'll call it bad, the beta is good. And the higher you get, the more chance of saturating the alpha receptor. You want to saturate the beta receptor. So you keep those in optimized numbers for you.
So when you're looking at women, for someone like me who probably needs testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone because I don't sleep, and that's another thing, like the sleep is
In about 2-3 days you sleep.
The sleep is the thing that drives you out of your mind
Yes.
because you cannot function without it. Last night, I didn't fall asleep till like 3 o'clock in the morning. The dogs came in at 3:05. And I was up again. So how do you get those right in a can you do that in a pellet or do you have to add on to it?
The pellets, there's 2 pellets, estrogen and testosterone.
Okay.
I get progesterone orally for a particular reason. I want the testosterone, estrogen to bypass the liver. So going in the skin, I bypass it.
Okay.
But the progesterone, I want to go orally because I want to go to the liver because it'll convert to a molecule called 5-alpha-pregnenolol, which is what's called the neurosteroid. It protects the brain.
Okay.
So that's why it helps for sleep. So the key is everything balanced. You get all 3 optimized. And at your young age, you're going to play with the
You
flexibility.
hear that? Young.
With the variability. So as you do these variabilities, you adjust the dose based upon that.
So when it comes to, I want to talk about two other really talked about items. I didn't see these on your website,
Okay.
but I want to get your opinion on them. Semaglutides and the weight loss piece. What are your thoughts on
When
those?
you lose weight optimally, you lose about 80% fat and about 20% muscle. With the semaglutides, you lose just the reverse.
Yeah.
80% muscle, 20% fat. There's increase in miliary thyroid cancer. Gastroparesis, your stomach has stopped working. It works centrally in the brain. There's actually increased suicide rate. I think it's a quick fix for something that's not that you can do health-wise, right?
Right.
And the problem is I can't stress enough, the standard American diet led to this. We ate meat and eggs and protein and fat.
And I still love all that
Okay.
stuff.
Well, we converted that to this grain diet. You can look, PCOS, metabolic disease, dementia, all started kicking up in 1980.
Heart disease, cancer,
All
all
of
of
it.
it.
We never saw a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease till 1980, 3 years after we started this diet. So we got to get back to eating protein and fat. Optimized fat's about 30% fat diet. It's a thing called the Randall cycle that allows the mitochondria to become adaptable. You want the mitochondria for energy to use sugar when sugar's there and fat when
Fat when
fat
fat's
is there.
there.
You want it balanced. And then protein you don't want to use for energy. You want that to build your body. And that's why it's important to get back to the way we ate. I can't stress the evilness of the standard American diet. And you have Jason Fung out there. He wrote a book called Obesity Code. You have Dr. Baker on carnivore diet. You have Mark Sisson's books. There is phenomenal scientific literature. There's no scientific data showing 3 meals a day has been beneficial. None. Just the opposite.
I agree with that. And in my diet today, I'm at about 30 grams of protein a meal. I think it's about 150 grams of protein a day.
Perfect.
And I'm on a workout day, I might have 145 carbs, and on a non-workout day, I might have
interesting.
105. And it's not like that every day. And I'm not saying that I live and breathe by this, or else I would look a whole lot better than I do, and I probably feel a whole lot better than I do. But that's my goal, right? I try to hit it 80%.
Women should eat within an hour of their workout and have carbohydrates. Men have a longer window for that. And there's some studies as you age, it looks to show better to work out on a fasting diet, but women not. And there's a great book by Dr. Pellets called Fast Like a Girl. Talks about during your cycle, there are different nutrients necessary for your body. There are times you crave sugar and salt. Your body needs it because progesterone loves sugar and salt. Estrogen loves fasting. So you want to find that balance with you.
And speaking of that, your Optimal Bio does all of this functional medicine. You do fitness programs, nutrition programs, gut health programs as well. Tell us a little bit about
Our
that.
foundation is pellets. And with that, we look at thyroid and adrenals. We have a wonderful program called a wellness program that looks at, we have programs for gut health, for what supplements to take, how to work out. It's very individualized. In fact, everybody at our office gets a free first consult to review all that stuff with a board certified, Britt has actually got her master's in Columbia Nutrition, because we want to individualize. Everything in Optimal Bio is individualized and personalized. Everything.
Everything.
I want to hear your story, your thing for you.
So when someone comes to you, what's the process they go through when they come into your office? Like, are they doing blood work before they see you the first time?
No. When you call, just call. We give you a consult on the phone, tell you what you do for nothing. But then you see us. The first thing, we listen. Again, you have a plethora of complaints. We listen. And then we walk through, then I draw a picture of everything on how your brain works, how all this works. The brain, hypothalamus talks to the pituitary. So I believe everybody has the capacity to learn this stuff. And we just go through it over and over and over again.
So you believe in education.
If you use Optimal Bio in our in-house, our mission statement's first word is education. That's all it is. And everybody gets a free book. And then, interesting, our consult, we charge, I think, $250 for a consult. It's good for life. We never charge a consult again. When you come for follow-ups, they're all free. I'll make a living if I do things correctly. And for me, it's knowledge. Say it takes you 15 visits. Come 15 times. We're not here to sell anything. I want you knowledgeable to make a decision.
I think that's
And then,
so
then we
important.
get the blood drawn. Then you come back. And then by the time you've read the book, we have more questions, we review everything, and that's within 2 days. And then,
Really?
oh yeah, we get last back in 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, we have 9 offices in 5 states. We're opening 2 more next month. But we're very We don't rush these consults. It's your time. And then we answer your questions, and then we walk through the science of how this works. The placement takes around 15, 20 seconds for a woman and about 30 seconds to 90 seconds for a man. I was a pelvic surgeon, so I have a different technique than most pellet places. And we have the big side effect is that pellets pop out called expulsion. There's a book called Testosterone out of Germany. The world average is 12.7% of men. We're less than 1%. And women with less than 1 in 1,000. And if we do, we just take care of it.
Yeah.
But the key thing is that we want to be there for all your questions. That's all I care about.
I love that philosophy because when I was going down my path of changing my life, losing 40 pounds at 35 years old and to start competing, I had to understand why I was doing it the way that I was doing it. And that's what started my licensed nutritionist journey. Was like I had to understand why the carbohydrate needed to be starch or fruit or vegetables or whatever. And it was such a great learning experience. And so I love the foundation that you're giving people because it's, teaching people to fish is so much more important than giving them fish.
That's why at our place we have hundreds of hours of YouTube. We have YouTube channels. We have hundreds of hours of podcasts. Again, we get great doctors like Dr. Brownstein, Dr. Malone, Dr. Baker. We just want to, and in all our cities we go to, we bring local business to our offices. We want a partnership.
Yeah.
We want, again, education changes everything. And we want people to be informed as much as possible on this idea because we have important things in our life. I got it. But the most important thing is in the mirror because you can't be the best wife or husband or the best kid or the best anything or best worker at work unless you're healthy.
We did a business planning session yesterday with our team, and mindset and health have always been a really important thing to me. But as I've gotten into my 40s, I feel like I've gotten lazier, and I don't know that that's the term. I think my body's just changing, and I'm not keeping up with it.
Can you get mad at your car for stopping because no gas?
No, you can't. But it's always also one of the things that I told them was you have to take care of yourself first.
Yes.
And we deprioritize our self-care, especially women, because we care for everybody else. And we feel like in us martyring ourselves, for lack of a better word, we're taking care of our husbands and taking care of our families. Meanwhile, we are freaking miserable. I'm sure you hear it every day.
Well, again, I was going to go I have a wife, I have 7 kids, I got 6 daughters. It's crucial that we understand that. But I'm very optimistic. It can be done.
It can be fixed.
And again, being healthy, Dr. Attia has these 4 things to be healthy: sleep, eat, exercise, remove stress. The fifth one is I've added that, it's restore. I can't do the first 4 unless I have the right hormone balance. So when I put the hormones in, it's like this circular event, okay? It's like a catch-22. You want to make sure the fuel's there so you can sleep. So you can exercise properly, eat properly, remove the stress. In fact, we have some business owners that found such benefit in themselves. They pay for their employees. They found they have lowered their actual overall employees' healthcare costs by coming to us.
I'm sure.
So when they go to their doctors, their BMI's better, their health's better. It can lower costs tremendously. And we've worked very. My whole goal is that I think healthcare costs got overblown. And if we could decentralize it, we could make things much like for what we do. It's like $4 a day for a woman, about $6 a day for a man, and we're talking about life-changing events.
It sounds so simple, right? And it should be so simple to be able to make your own choices about your own health.
But I want to be clear here. When I first heard about them, I blew this off, and I spent 2 years studying it because I thought this was too good to be true.
Yeah.
There's a Dr. Morgenthau from Harvard wrote a book called Testosterone for Life. He lists all these things, all these benefits. He said, what if you had a pill that did that? He listed, it's a plethora of things. And he goes, it's testosterone. And it's not a pill, it's your own hormone body. So I want to age, but I want to age gracefully.
Yeah.
We'll have cancer and we'll have cardiovascular disease, we'll have neurodegenerative disease. Instead of 50s, let's push it out to the hundreds, right? 1960, 3% of Americans were chronically ill. Now it's 70. So whatever we're doing wrong.
It's wrong.
Jason Fung in his book Obesity goes, whatever we're doing, let's try something different.
Because let's do a 180.
Right.
Well, I want to ask just one more question before we kind of get to the end of things. Is where does growth hormone tie into this?
Oh, growth hormone.
Growth hormone, it seems to be kind of the anti-aging thing, but now it seems to be testosterone is the anti-aging.
Well, testosterone turns on growth hormone, okay? They work synergistically. We actually give an analog of growth hormone called peptides. We have those as well that turns on your own growth hormone. They work synergistically. In fact, people that give you growth hormone without testosterone do you a disservice. You want to do both. Now, the problem with growth hormone, it's good, it's great, but if you got to fine tune the dosage. If it's too much, you can get diabetes or high blood sugar. Diabetes or acromegalia or high blood pressure, those three major ones. But if you take the peptide that makes your own go up, you can't overdose.
Yeah.
And it makes this hormone called IGF-1 from the liver, and that actually sensitizes your insulin receptors. So they work synergistically, testosterone and growth hormone. I'm on the peptides as well.
Yeah. So that sounds like a great combination that I might need to just check out.
I have a whole section of my book on that.
I'm going to have to read that book. This is going to be my reading tonight. So before we head away, make sure you go download the book. I'm going to put the link down below, but where can people find you?
OptimalBio.com. You name it, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I write a Substack article every 2 weeks. We have everything, and I have great providers that they're writing their own videos. We just want knowledge out there. Knowledge is, James Madison said, knowledge will forever govern ignorance. We have to be knowledgeable.
What do you eat?
Okay.
What do you recommend people
Well,
eat?
I mean, if you talk to my wife, you'll laugh. I mean, I love candies and sweets too. But the key, I found for me personally, I love the carnivore mentality. But for me, it's fasting. And I call it time-restricted feeding or feasting. Jason Fung's book, I can't say enough of that book. So I personally don't have my first meal around 2 o'clock.
Okay. My dad's the same way.
Okay, and then I eat my second meal between 2 and 8. I'll eat. Okay, but for 2 years I was strict. Not a piece of licorice, not a piece of candy, and because that diabetes scared me. Now when I got that window in there, I know how to do that. So if I want a bowl of ice cream, I'll have a bowl of ice cream. But it's very important that we got to get out of the insulin resistance phase of our life. That's why the carnivore, the fasting is important. And then when your body becomes adaptable, that has to have fat, to have enough sugar with enough fat, the balance. But for me, that's how I do it. I work out probably 3-4 days a week. I love working out. But it's lifting heavy things and
Strength
walking.
training. Yeah.
And you do that with the right diet. This body's amazingly made. It's not as complex as you people make it seem.
Yeah.
It's lift heavy things half hour, 3-4 days a week and walk. And then my thing's fasting. But I want us to be stressful. You're a young ovulating woman. That's not for you.
No. I can't fast.
Dr. Pelz's book is a phenomenal book for that. And women are much more complicated than men. Much more complicated.
Really?
It really is. And it's not to sell you on this. So it's not. And we have to get the hormones balanced, and then you could, because I found when people come over when they're overweight, it's not because we're lazy. That word you use. No, I don't want to say lied to, misinformation that we've been told to try it this way. That's why let's go back to look back at pictures of the 50s and 60s and the 30s back then. Where were the overweight? Where's it happening? Overweight's not because we did to ourselves. We listened. Get back to where you used to do it. That's what I want to do.
Well, I think that's great. My dad, you just made me think about him. He is in his 70s. He is probably 150 or 60 pounds. He's about 6 foot tall. He's worked his entire life. But since he's retired, he has really gotten into this total health kick.
Love it.
He fasts every day until 12 o'clock. He makes this huge break fast, shake with all kinds of amazing stuff in it. He's doing all the vitamins, and he is working out with a trainer 3 times a week, and that trainer has him lifting but has him jumping over benches.
Yes.
Is working on his plyometrics, keeping his body limber. And I'll tell you, he's probably the happiest, healthiest person I know.
Number 4 cause of death over 65 is falling down. So balance.
Well, if he falls, he knows how to catch himself because his shins are torn to pieces all the time.
That's why it's so important to do that balance. Do the things in one foot. Rotate things. Find back. Do exercise with your eyes closed. That's, as you age, like I do, that's very important things.
So why you chose Cary to start this first Optimal Bio, and now you've expanded. Why do you stay in Cary, Raleigh? What's so attractive about this area to you?
Well, God is really good. My wife's from a small town called New York City, I'm from a small town called Los Angeles.
Oh, God.
And I went to medical school called Chicago. So we've done all the biggies. We're looking to raise our family. And I mean, you have RTP, you have 3 great universities here, you have a great community college atmosphere, you have a lot of people that want to be educated, a lot of workers, a lot of growth. It's a vibrant, to me, it feels like a post-war suburbia area that's growing. It's just a great place to live, to raise a family. You name it, we have it. We got the mountains, you got the beach, you got everything here. And I like the diversity of the people here. I just love it.
Yeah.
I think it's a true American breadbasket.
Well, you've built an incredible business, and today's conversation has been so enlightening. Thank you so much for being here. I feel better already just from having this conversation. And I think for those of you out there listening, if you've heard something that's resonated for you, take Dr. Brannon up on it. Call his office, schedule a consult, at least get in. Don't just push these problems that you're feeling, the fatigue, the lack of libido, the lack of sleep. Don't push all that stuff under the rug, because we don't have to live that way. There is another way, and I would love to have been a facilitator or a connector to that for you. So we obviously think that Raleigh is a pretty special place to live, and this show is all about sharing the best people, places, and businesses that you need to know in this market. And if this resonated with you, check it out. We're going to have all the contact details below. But if you're looking to make a move in the Raleigh area, we want to be your concierge level real estate team. We service the entire market, from starter homes to luxury homes to new construction, and we would love to help you find your slice of heaven. So, curious about what's coming next in the Best of Raleigh? We drop a new show every Friday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast, and we will see you in the next Best of Raleigh.
Thank you.